See, I watch a lot of videos on YouTube about LA gangs and Bloods and Crips and how it started and all that type of shit. Because I'm a Blood. And being so, I just gotta know the roots of this shit. I always wanted to know them type of things. Being a Blood, being from my neighborhood, I always wanted to know the history, to know what I was getting myself into. But the more I watch it, it's very interesting. And it's a lot of OGs out there that speak on these type of things and how the gang started and, you know, the generations and all that type of shit. But I don't never see them talk about like, okay, yeah, the homie went up to Sac and they went up to Stockton, they went up north, and you know, niggas start moving up north and niggas started, you know, court niggas on and all that type of shit. I don't never hear that. Them, like, I know it's a lot of gangs in LA and a lot of gang members, but I know also that a lot of them niggas was in the pen with a lot of Sacramento niggas. See, Bloods and Crips been in Sacramento since like the 80s and 90s and all that type of shit. So I don't never hear him talking about like encounters with Sacramento gang members. And I know back then, like when they like kicked it off and all that shit, and they was in the pen like I know a lot of Sac OGs before Crips and Bloods and shit, them niggas was like BGF, Black Gorilla Family and all that type of shit. And the Crips didn't get along with the BGF back then. I don't know if the Bloods did, but I know the Crips didn't in LA, didn't get along with the BGF. And I know a lot of Sacramento OGs was BGF. So maybe that's why they don't talk about them, because they didn't really like get along with BGF as a whole. So they didn't. But I know after that, after the BGF really was starting to crumble and the Bloods and Crips was like taking over. Mind you, BGF is a prison gang, but the Bloods and Crips end up outnumbering the BGF. It was more influential, like a new gang starting, it's just popular and everybody wanted to be part of that. So, and a lot of niggas from the street gangs was coming to jail, going to prison, and it was just a thing. So, but I don't never hear like the LA history of encounters with Sacramento Crips and Bloods and how they felt about it, and even them mentioning like active homies from they set are such and such, and my cousin moved up north, or none of that shit. I don't hear none of that. That's the things like I just be wanting to know. Like I know like Nigel Collins moved from Pomona to Sacramento and lived in Valley High and all that shit, went to Valley High School, and moved to Oak Park and started 456 4th Avenue, because he come from Pomona, 456. So we started 456 in Oak Park, 4th Avenue. OG Nigel Collins. But he's from Pomona. I'm saying like the inner city, that's LA County. I'm saying like the inner city of LA, within the city of Los Angeles, the major gangs that came out of Los Angeles. Like I watch a lot of interviews, but they never talk about encounters with Sacramento niggas, period. Like just individually, even it's a lot of factors from Sacramento and OGs that know a lot of factors from LA, but they don't like it's never talked about. Even niggas from Stockton. It's big niggas that came out of Stockton and all that type of shit. And they don't really talk about like the Bay either, like encounters with the Bay, like how that was. I don't really hear that from the OGs that I be watching interviews about. Like that's the shit I want to hear. Like to know our connections with Southern California, with the gangs. And how did it even skip the Bay? Like, how did Bloods and Crips skip the whole Bay Area? All them cities within the Bay Area just skip the Bay Area. I don't understand that. I don't really get it. And because it's not really talked about. And I wonder why they don't talk about their encounters with Northern California niggas, especially gang members. That was Bloods and Crips and all that type of shit. But I do know this. I know in the certain pens, the Bloods and the Bay rock together. They call it Bloody Waters. And I don't never hear them talk about that. So it's certain things like that just I want to know just the history of gangs migrating to Sacramento, Bloods and Crips specifically, and how all that shit just like came about. Other than the Nigel Collins, the 456 in Oak Park, that's one thing, but it was more than just him, because they started gangs all in a lot of states and all that shit, but I'm talking California. Even though I know it was the drug trade, it was the I-5 going up the corridor for drugs, selling drugs and all that type of shit. And that's how they was migrating around for their business and, you know, starting sections and you know, leaving a mark on Crippin' in different places and Bloods in Sacramento and Stockton and all that type of shit. But why is it not talked about? I want to know certain things, you know. It's certain things that I want to know. Just not from an OG. Not all from an OG from Sacramento. I want to hear from the LA gang members themselves, their encounters with up north Bloods and Crips. That's all I want to know.